This is Cindy.
And this is Shirley
from the 710 Club asking,
what did you have for breakfast today? And you are listening to CHLY
101.7 FM in Nanaimo.
And on the web at chly.ca.
Look at all these islands, all granite walls and sandstone. See the mighty evergreens standing by the shore.
Good morning. Welcome to Changes, the program on sustainability. I'm Suzanne Gregory, and it's my pleasure this morning to say hello to Chantel Colson, who's in the studio. Good
Hello,
morning.
Suzanne. Good morning.
And you have two guests, and I think a fascinating topic.
I do. So today with me in the studio, I have Angela and Dean Jurgensen, co-founders and editors of Brighter Books Publishing. So we have a lot of interesting things to talk about today. I'll also mention that we're going to be actually calling for listeners to call into the show at 3 different points throughout the show to support our CHLY fund drive. We're still collecting pledges for a great cause, for maintenance of the studio and operations. So we'll put out 3 calls throughout the show, and if you are the lucky first listener to call in with your pledge, then you're going to get 2 books as a free prize, and we'll describe the books a little bit later. So, hello, Angela. Hi, Dean.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. So we're going to start just talking a little bit about Angela and Dean's background. So, Angela, how did you sort of get started in publishing and literature, and what's your background?
Well, I've always loved books since I was little. They really everything to me. I used to read them all the time. Every Sunday, my father would take me to the only bookstore that we had in our neighborhood, and we would pick a bunch of books after spending the whole afternoon reading them on the floor. So for me, I've always wanted to do something related to books. So, of course, I was in Brazil back then, and there's not a lot to do related to books in Brazil. So I started dentistry. Mm-hmm. But after about 2 years and a half in dentistry, I realized that I didn't have to stay in Brazil. So I went to the United States to attend a college for illustration. So that's my tie-in, really, basically. I went to Pacific Northwest College of Art, and I did children's book illustration. That's how I went back to books. So
yeah, great.
Yeah.
What about Dean? What's your background?
Pretty diversified, but basically I got into the computer world and took up electronics and became an electronic engineer. And but I've always loved books too. I mean, that's always been my mainstay as my recreational vehicle is reading, and usually sci-fi. That's how I started off, and I still love sci-fi to this day. And you know, it's always been kind of in the background. And then when Angela suggested, why don't we go in this direction? And I thought, this is fantastic. I really support her efforts and what she's trying to achieve, and I really think she is really giving back to people and children in particular.
Definitely, that's great. So Brighter Books Publishing is what you guys have founded together. When did Brighter Books start?
We started in 2009. We started a company not knowing what we were going to do with it. So we incorporated, we did everything, and then we sat down and we were like, what do we do now? I didn't know if I was going to do only ebooks, or if we were going to do a mixture of games and books, or what was going to be. Mm-hmm. And so it took us a year to actually start the publishing house itself. So in 2010, that's when we started looking for authors and putting the word out that we are now starting this publishing house, and it's coming out, and we need authors because we need books. And it really launched in 2011. So it's been going for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah,
so, and where exactly is it located?
It's located right here in Nanaimo. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's just right here.
Is it out of an office building or a home?
Well, right now it's out of our home.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have an office space, basically the biggest room in the house is.
Publishing.
Yeah.
That's great. So how many books have you published to date?
So far, we have 3 books out. Our intention was to have more by now, but it's been difficult. It's been, just hard to achieve that. This year has been very trying, but we were learning, and as we go, we're getting faster. And so we have 4 more books coming out anytime now. Actually, one of them is ready, and so it should be 4 by next month. And there's a couple more that should be out by January. So
great.
Yeah.
So you're on your way.
We're on our way.
Good. So the books that you've published so far, the first one was by Charity Gosling. Is that correct?
That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about that book.
That book it's actually an interesting story. We were living on the upstairs of a house at that time, and Charity was living downstairs.
Okay.
And we met. We didn't really talk much except hello. When you leave the house and she's going to, and we say hello. But we met at a publishing
Seminar.
That's right. So we met at a publishing seminar, and I asked her, "What are you doing here?" So she said, "Well, I've written a book," and I was like, "Oh, I'm starting a publishing house," and
Perfect.
that's. So we started talking, and she was our first book. And I did all the illustrations and the cover on that one, and
that's right. Sorry, I forgot to mention that you also do the graphic design for the novels. I forgot
that's
to mention
right.
that at the beginning.
Yeah. I do the illustration of many of them, not all of them, but it's a way to save some funds right now, and also I love doing it. That's what I went to school for. So
that's right.
I really love it. So
that's perfect.
And Charity's book is a phenomenal book. I mean, we really like her as an author, and I think she has. Her stories are pure, and they really convey a lot of meaning and a lot of learning for the younger readers and young adults. So it's definitely a positive book on and where you can gain you be a better person after you've read the book. So I really applaud
great.
Charity on that one.
Which is actually it's actually what we want to do. We want every single one of our books. Once you read them, you're better. You're better. You gain something from it. It's not, it's not like that. Does it always have a happy ending? No. Sometimes it's going to have a sad ending, but you learn something. It's not, it's not a negative book. It's not how bad the world is. The world is not bad. It really isn't. There's a lot of beauty out there. And,
there is. Yeah.
Our motto is books change people, make the change count.
That's right. Yes. So really taking something away from the book.
Yeah.
So the book that we're talking about, Charity's book, is called The Guardian. And what age group do you think this book is maybe best suited for?
This is the thing. Our books, when we say an age group, it's just based on, does it have anything that would offend, younger children? So for me, that book could be read easily by anybody above 11. But even the Harry Potter series is pretty violent because there is some fights on that book.
Yeah.
And there are 8-year-olds reading it just fine. So, it really depends on the child.
Yeah.
So, but I would say that kids above 12, up to 18, probably, teenagers would love that book. So
great.
Yeah.
Okay. The second book that you've published is called The Catalyst. So let's talk a little bit about this book so our readers know a little bit about this book.
Well, that's a sci-fi, and it's about a boy that he's reluctant to grow, and so all these things happen. He's basically pushed into his real life, and it's really interesting to see him struggle, and then slowly you see the change, and it's a really good change book.
Excellent.
This one is clearly geared mainly for boys. The one from Charity, The Guardians, it could be boys or girls, and that would be fine. But Catalyst is mainly for boys, I would say.
Okay.
And Catalyst, the author is Maddie McLean, so I just thought I'd mention that.
Maddie McLean.
Definitely.
He is from Toronto.
Okay.
So he's
great.
also Canadian. So
Great. And the third book, let's talk about that one.
the third book is called Calyx of Teversol, and it's a really interesting almost a retell of the Rumpelstiltskin story,
Okay.
but it's a totally different. It is a Rumpelstiltskin style story, but it's not really a retell. It's not, well, the entity is not called Rumpelstiltskin, right? So it's something a little different, but it's been getting really good reviews as well.
Great.
And the author for that book lives in Florida, so that's another thing. Right now, our authors are from all over. Eventually, we would like it to be only Canadian, but we're just not getting enough entries from Canada. I guess because people don't know that we're here.
Yeah, it's fairly new. So,
yeah.
So how do you connect with an author from Toronto or from Florida? Like how does that connection happen?
Well, they are sending us manuscripts. We have, in 2010, we have started being published in the Writers Market, which is the main book for finding a publishing house. So authors are looking at us there, and they're sending us things. But
so the author will send you the manuscript, and you sort of go from there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we get a lot of manuscripts. But
Good. And
yeah.
Where do they mostly come from, do you think?
From the U.S.
From the U.S.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's good because you are just getting started and that kind of thing. But eventually, you'd like to focus on Canadian authors.
Yeah. I get a lot of Canadian. Well, not a lot. I get some Canadian books, but they are mainly. I don't know. It's mainly. It's almost like they're trying to they're trying to guess what I want. So it's a lot of hockey stories and things like that they're very specific. You know, and I don't want something. I just want a good story. So if this story has something that is Canadian, but it is a good story, then that's what I'm going to be looking at. It's a good story for everyone.
And are you looking to publish a specific genre, or are you sort of open to anything?
Well, if it's books basically for children and
kids,
young adults, we're interested, and also educational material, like unique ways of teaching math or unique ways of teaching something, geography, history, science.
Okay, so you're not just talking novels, but also something educational.
Background on Angela's, again, her father used to be a professor who teaches other teachers to teach math.
Oh, okay.
And so
yeah,
that's the tie-in.
I have a math book coming out that I'm working on myself.
Oh, great.
So I do like math, and my father had some unique ways of teaching it. So I want to, which I figured out when I started tutoring kids, and they were like, "Oh, really? What? Do that again?" And I was like, "Yeah, you don't do it like that? Oh, okay." So it seems like I have some easy ways of teaching math, which are good for kids.
Great.
So.
They don't teach in North America. I mean, I've gone through the school system both in Canada and the U.S.
Yeah.
I've got two adult boys myself.
Yeah.
And they did not teach any of Angela's techniques, and
Wow.
it's very, I think, revolutionary in North America. So.
Well, let's not go that far.
No, that's wonderful though, because I mean, I find that too with our school system. We need unique ways of conveying the information to kids, especially with certain classically difficult subjects that some kids might struggle with.
Yes.
Math, for example, that kind of thing. So that's wonderful that you're looking to publish that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And more for visual learners, right?
That's right.
There's one book coming out, actually, that is an educational book. It's called Young Heroes, and that's about abolishing modern-day slavery.
Oh,
and
I saw that on the website. Actually,
the way he put together the book is fantastic. That one I did not. I did some of the design because he gave me the elements and I had to put them together. But it's fantastic. He went to he really did a good job making a book that is consistently interactive. Every single page there's something for you to do and read and think about, and it's just an amazing book. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for.
That's great. So when is that one coming out? Sorry.
Well, it's coming out 2 months ago. No, it's really, I'm so behind, but it's hopefully coming out by January. I'm hoping.
Okay.
It's basically done. I just have to fix up some things, and then it should be out.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to extend a call out to our listeners. If you're listening, please call in to support CHLY, where Suzanne's here sitting at the ready to take your pledge. And if you call in and you give a pledge and you're one of our first callers, we will be giving away the books that we just discussed. Number one is The Guardian, Charity's book. That is signed by the author. And the second one is the second book published by Brighter Books. It's The Catalyst that we also mentioned. So these two books are going to be given away to the first